I never would think that Bitcoin is going to zero. And my confidence in that comes from the deep dives that I've taken into the foundations of the creators of Bitcoin. I know a great number of people who will never sell their Bitcoin. I am one of those. And because of that, it will never go to zero because all that it takes is for one person to accept it as a form of payment. Most solid investment in crypto is Bitcoin. I am the most comfortable suggesting that. This whole concept is if this is a super cycle, then basically it's not going to follow the same trend as before, and it could just keep reaching higher highs until, and it's like a more of a long-term cycle, maybe 10 years or something.
Whoa.
So
Hi everyone, we're with Heidi Chakos today. She's from Portugal and she's gonna share her journey on investing, and we're gonna do bits and pieces of a deep dive also in the cryptocurrency space. So Heidi, how are you? I'm so excited to hear your story because you've started investing 2014 when everyone or a large chunk of the population that's investing now did not even believe in Bitcoin back then. So how are you and what's your journey?
yeah, hey Marvin, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a wild journey in cryptocurrencies, especially as of late. But yeah, just a brief background for me. I don't have a technical background or like computer background or financial background, but I first invested in Bitcoin in 2014, and really from a spot of I needed my money to start working for me. And for me, investing in cryptocurrencies was very easily, especially back then. Basically just needed an email and to connect my bank account and I could fund my exchange. Very like no KYC or anything. And then from there, having been invested in it, it really kind of incentivized me to learn more about it, especially as it, was appreciating over time. And so, yeah, over the past years, coming from a non-technical background, having to try to translate really all of this code and what it means and like the game theory and incentive models and security of decentralized networks is really interesting to me now. After, a few years of this, in 2016, I launched my YouTube channel, Crypto Tips. And again, coming from this kind of humble beginnings of a beginner, and as I learned something, I would try to pass it on. And again, just over the years, it's accumulated, and it's been great. So happy to be here.
So before anything else, guys, if there's one thing that I'd like to request, please subscribe to her channel. You don't have to subscribe to mine. Just go to her channel and subscribe and watch her content. You'll get more from her in crypto than what you'll ever get from my channel. But I'm curious about this. You said you had no technical background in finance. Was there ever any hesitation at all? Because even right now, people think this is still something that's unknown to them. What made you get into it? Was it just wanted passive income?
That was certainly a part of it. Obviously, motivating factor for me is wanting to have an income that would allow me to have a much more free life, which it has. But also, it was introduced to me by a friend, and having to have them explain to me how magical internet money could work a few times. I admit it did seem kind of scammy at first. But just coming out of 2008 and the global financial crisis and the behemoth of massive fails that happened with the banks and the government tied in with that and central banks and all that mess, already having been familiar with that, this idea of a money that isn't controlled by a government was also pretty attractive and interesting for me to learn about, especially learning how a decentralized network can establish honesty and security without some, centralized entity controlling it all or putting their stamp of approval on it, was really intriguing. And I think as time goes on and as what we're seeing play out now is actually solidifying, the importance of a decentralized network and what Bitcoin was and how that's led to all these other different implementations of that technology. I think it's great.
You started 2014. It was at a very, very low point. We saw Bitcoin push somewhere around 2017 to 20,000. Was there ever a point at that time that you were tempted also to sell? That's one. Second, when it dropped also few months after that. If you did not sell, did you ever regret not selling as well? Or did you even buy more when you saw it start to go down? Because I think the frame of mind back in 2017, 2018 is different from the frame of mind now. Now, if Bitcoin drops, everyone just wants to stack it. But that wasn't the frame of mind a couple of years back for the general population.
I did take some profits, I think, towards the top of that, but more so actually on that second dip, realizing like, okay, I'm still up. And you know, just in case, let's tuck some away. So I just kind of dollar cost averaging out of positions was quite nice. You know, it's very difficult to time the perfect top of a market. And so I think, you know, if you're not to be too greedy, have some price points in mind. And when you reach it, enjoy those profits. You know, learning about the emotions of trading, especially that's what we're seeing. A lot of people new to cryptocurrencies haven't invested in anything before. And so they are very emotional investors. And I know you said, you know, any dips happening now, everyone is happy to buy them up. And it is pretty typical during a Bitcoin bull run to have like at least three, like 30%, maybe even 40% drops, which is good to know. But there's that phrase, shaking out the weak hands, right? So there's always the people who are new and freaking out. And I have a Patreon group as well. A lot of them are new people just trying to be familiar with crypto. And almost every time there's a dip, we need to have a little pep talk like, okay, it's not dead tech. It is a very young market. It is a growing market. It's not going anywhere. And so just chill and buy some if you can.
What were you thinking back then? 2018, it went somewhere around 3,000. March 2020, it went also somewhere around 3,000. Did it ever come to a point in your mind that maybe other people are right that this would go to zero? How did you convince yourself that this is something that's legit, this is something that will be the future of money?
I never would think that Bitcoin is going to zero. And my confidence in that comes from the deep dives that I've taken into the foundations of the creators of Bitcoin. You know, Satoshi Nakamoto was a guy, but also the cypherpunk movement is a really cool thing to dive into. Actually, people have been trying to create cryptocurrencies, a successful form of a decentralized money, basically, since the 80s. And basically, since the internet rolled out, they've been trying to figure out a way to transfer value in an honest way as well, just like information, which I thought was great. And so all those people working towards the creation of Bitcoin were volunteers. They didn't get paid. They were just really motivated and very intelligent and really freedom fighters, in my opinion. And so for me, knowing that, there is still a very solid underlying layer of those types of people in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. I know a great number of people who will never sell their Bitcoin. I am one of those. And because of that, it will never go to zero, because all that it takes is for one person to accept it as a form of payment. And there you go. So you have a market.
We are at 57,000, 58,000, around that levels. For those who are coming in right now, what would you encourage them to do? Is it still safe to come in?
When you run out of people who are like the dumb money, no offense, are running out, that's when the price drops. But okay, so yes, it is, in my opinion, it would have obviously been much more advantageous to invest in Bitcoin like even 6 months ago, 2 months ago, a while ago. But here's the thing is, even if you bought Bitcoin at the height of 2017, the very tip of it, $19,900 for a Bitcoin, 3 years later, you would have made profit. And that is the key to this thing that, you know, it's a new market. There's price discovery, and with that comes price appreciation as well. Markets move in cycles. There's generally like a 6 month to 1 year accumulation phase, and then there's the bull run, and then there's the bear market. That's basically how it happens. So are you satisfied with holding your Bitcoin? And I'm only suggesting Bitcoin now because that is the only cryptocurrency that I know is the long term. It is the most secure network, the most decentralized network, the most recognized network. Ethereum is certainly rivaling it, but I'll get into Ethereum in a second. But for me, the most solid investment in crypto is Bitcoin. I am the most comfortable suggesting that. But basically, you got to know that it's going to drop. You got to know that that it's not going to go on forever. There's going to be corrections, but you have to be okay with holding it long term. If you're just investing for short term, probably not a good idea. Maybe wait for a drop and then see what happens. There's been a lot of people also talking about how this could be a super cycle moment where we're seeing all these big publicly traded companies buying Bitcoin. They're not these dumb retail investors. They're buying Bitcoin and choosing it over gold and cash as their reserve asset. So basically, they're tucking it away for the long term. And there's this one, I don't know if you're familiar with MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor has been pretty vocal with crypto lately, which has been great. I was kind of skeptical about him at first, but I'm warming up to him. But basically, I think that his initial investment in Bitcoin already made more profit than his company made in like 3 months. That was obviously at the start of the bull run. This whole concept is, if this is a super cycle, then basically it's not going to follow the same trend as before, and it could just keep reaching higher highs and it's like more of a long-term cycle, maybe 10 years or something.
Whoa.
So yeah, but that's when the FOMO kicks in, right? It's like, oh, it's going to keep going up. And so you just don't know. So that's why I say, I think it's smart for people to get exposure to Bitcoin for the long term. I think it's beneficial to get Bitcoin. That's why I'm never going to sell it. I think it's actually going to be a tool that will be very helpful to have in the long term, not just as speculation, but actually to use.
Because if you go to Twitter right now, you'd see so many people, Bitcoin 600,000, and then you see so many people, people should be buying Bitcoin right now. If you don't want to get rich, don't buy Bitcoin. You see so much, tweets about that, and people get somehow enticed that it's somehow just gonna magically go up. But what people don't understand is anything that can give you that move up, there will always be volatility like that. You said something very, very interesting, and I really believe this is one of the game changers, that corporations, the more they add that to their balance sheets, they're not gonna sell. That places more scarcity. And the whole talk about Tesla buying crypto, this is what I believe. Should Bitcoin drop again below 40,000, they may buy once again, because that's a point where they believe that it's relatively cheaper for them. So even if there will be corrections, there's now larger institutions and corporations that are not there to trade, but they're just really there to replace their dollar. That's just relatively steeping.
They're really just trying to escape inflation that's happening from all this currency printing. A lot of people are predicting that that Bitcoin can top out at like 100K for this cycle. If there's a correction for that, it would take it down to 15,000. If it went to 200,000, the correction would be down to 30,000. So that's something to pay attention to. Also, buying opportunity, obviously, and also I what you were saying too about the corporations buying. They're not going to be selling, but even if they did sell, that would be an amazing buying opportunity for all these people who feel like they can't afford the Bitcoin. That could be a thing. And I don't think that they're just going to, sell it and then forget about it. Like, they're obviously going to be re-entering again. But again, I don't think it's going to be a very rapid movement. I think it's a reserve asset. They're a publicly traded company. They're going to be, I think, conservative with that. And also what's interesting, at least with Tesla, is that since they came out as going public of investing in Bitcoin, their stock price is kind of tied now to the value of Bitcoin. Actually, right after he made I think he made an announcement, or he tweeted something about Bitcoin, and then it actually crashed, and then his stocks crashed too. But obviously it's fine now. But it's an interesting correlation, because if you're out there and people know that your company is backed by Bitcoin essentially, or supported by Bitcoin in some way, you're tying yourself to that as well, which I think is going to be beneficial, obviously, in the long run, but could lend to some volatility as well.
That's something interesting to note. One of my larger stock positions is in Tesla also. So if something happens to Bitcoin and Tesla's tied to it, it could bring me a lot of.
It could be a super cycle for Tesla as well.
Yeah, you mentioned about 100,000 for Bitcoin. There's a lot of talk that Bitcoin is digital gold. It's the new gold, and then people are comparing gold, a $10 trillion market cap. Bitcoin is at $1 trillion. If you do the math, for it to make a run at gold, it it should hit 500 to 600,000 US dollars per Bitcoin. Do you believe in that narrative that we're actually gonna see it go above and beyond 500/600,000? And I've heard so many theories about it. That's only if you look at Bitcoin as a store of value. If it becomes a currency, then it should be even priced more than gold.
I think historically people have been wrong about their predictions for what Bitcoin can go to. Even in 2017, people thought, oh, it's no way it's going higher than 10,000, and it doubled that. So you never know. And it's I'm going to keep reiterating this. It's a brand new market. Like it's so tiny compared to, like you're saying, with gold and stuff, it's 10 times less. And then there's all these other assets and commodities and things to compare it to. I mean, I don't want to put a limit on Bitcoin. In the 10 years, sure. I think that price point is very, very realistic. When people wake up to when they realize an investment in a hard asset, an appreciating asset compared to keeping their savings in fiat that's actually depreciating over time. You're limited to only spending that currency within your country. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are borderless. The markets are 24/7 global. It's a really inclusive kind of a thing. And it's a brand new technology that's really, it's disrupting so many industries.
One of the things that I like about putting it in platforms is you could put it in savings like account type of mechanisms. How does it normally go? If you see a crash, what happens to the rates? Does it go higher or lower?
I mean, they always have the caveat that, it's variable. It's subjected to change. But actually, this is kind of a new phenomenon in crypto. Like BlockFi is a very popular one. That wasn't even launched until 2018. Celsius, the same thing. So this is kind of the first time during a bull run that we have an additional way to, as if price appreciation wasn't enough, you can also earn a passive income by lending your cryptos. When it comes to a crash, I'm not sure what they're going to do with their percentages, because the idea is, if they were being honest about it, the profits would be coming from the people who are lending your crypto, right? Or who are borrowing your crypto. But the reality is there's actually far more people wanting to lend their crypto than to borrow it. Reason being, to borrow crypto, you have to over collateralize, like usually by at least 50%, just to cover that volatility. And if you were taking out a loan and then all of a sudden the value of your, at the peak, and all of a sudden the value of your collateral drops, you're liquidated, you lose everything basically. So it's interesting to have that with a volatile price like Bitcoin, but a lot of people choose to be lending and borrowing in stable coins, like USDC or Tether or GUSD, these coins that are like pegged to the value of the dollar, which is actually the coins that they give the best return on. I think BlockFi is, like, last I checked, was like 8.6%. If you were lending USDC. Yeah, Celsius is very similar. There's crypto is so cool.
I just get 6. Oh, I have to check. I have to check BlockFi.
You gotta check. Yeah. But like, there's so many cool ways to earn a passive income with crypto now, like staking coins, and you can do it in a way that you are storing your coins yourself. Binance is really cool and convenient, but they are the ones who actually own your coins, and you are ultimately trusting that they're going to give it back to you. There's been more than enough examples of rug pulls, exit scams happening on centralized exchanges in crypto. So I definitely try to get that warning out, but Binance has been around for a while. They're a pretty successful company. So in that, it's probably okay. Just, the idea is kind of anti-crypto. But you can actually, you can earn a passive income with crypto with certain staking coins like Polkadot. Ethereum is going to come out with it probably in like 2 or 3 years. It's going to be a while.
3 years? Oh my gosh.
Well, that's when like Ethereum 2.0 is going to come out. I think you can stake your coins now, but to do so, you have to lock them up until that new, basically you're locking your coins in the new smart contract, and that new smart contract won't be actually functioning until that update happens on Ethereum. And no offense to Ethereum devs, but their updates don't usually happen on time. So they're saying 2 years, maybe 3 years. So it's going to be a while.
There are a lot of platforms, but how do you diversify your crypto in terms of what do you put in a wallet? How do you also divide that? What do you put in a cold storage wallet? What do you put in a hot wallet? What do you put in a platform, etc.? What should be the strategy behind that? And at what point do you actually have to take it out into something where you own your private keys as well?
It is a good idea to diversify how you're storing your coins. For me, majority of my coins are on my hardware wallet. That's just my prerogative. A lot of people, aren't comfortable with that yet, which I totally understand. That's a thing with crypto, is it gives you the ability to be your own bank, but that means the responsibility is also on your shoulders to know how to use it, function with it, and secure it. Bitcoin is growing in price. It's all the more attractive for hackers to try to break into these centralized exchanges. Binance does have an insurance fund. So then basically if they get hacked on their back end and your funds happen to be missing, they will reimburse you. If you had a phishing email, you had a scammy email and you clicked on a link and you logged in and you fell for it and your funds get hacked that way,
that's your fault.
You're out of luck.
How do you think things will go when the last Bitcoin is mined and miners are not incentivized already? There's a lot of talk that they're going to earn from the fees, etc. But is that good enough for them to just continue to hold the network together?
There has been 18 million mined, but based on the emission rate, the last Bitcoin won't be mined for another 200 years. So technically we don't have to worry about it, but that's not the point. The point is, no, it's okay. This whole thing is an experiment, right? It's never been done before, this type of a network effect and transferring of value. And what a lot of people like to do is they go back to what Satoshi said about it. And I think he insinuated, or he said maybe directly, that, it'll just be based on fees. I know some people have theories that it's only going to be these huge corporations that are settling on the Bitcoin blockchain. So it's not like you're kind of saying, it's going to be the new gold. It's not necessarily going to be cash, or cash-like, because then it just becomes even more of a depreciating asset. Once there's no more Bitcoin mined, it becomes all the more rare, because every day people are going to be losing access to their Bitcoin. There's probably 3 or 4 million Bitcoin that are never ever going to be in circulation because people lost access to it and you can't get it back.
I have a big favor, guys. I'll put the link to Heidi's YouTube channel. Please subscribe to her channel. For sure, you're going to get tons of value from what she's sharing. And if you have any questions, just put it in the comment section below and we'll try to see how we could address those questions as well. And I hope you guys learned a lot from this in this very, very light conversation. So to everyone, I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us. You've been an absolute fun guest to have as well. So bye, everyone.